Hello, I'm Matt, one of the top 10 greatest DC20 YouTubers. And I only know of like 8 other DC20 channels, so objectively speaking, I'm not wrong for saying that. And today I'm going to do a mostly unscripted video. I haven't done this before, so please lower your standards even more than usual when watching me. So if there's like audio issues or something, I won't be able to fix it as easily, but I thought this made sense to do mostly unscripted. So the DC20 Gremlin Ancestry. We know some information about it, and I thought it'd be fun to try to make my own homebrew version of it before the official releases. So I'm just going to go through my homebrew process essentially. We know certain things like they're related to halflings and they like to play pranks, and I'll write all the information down somewhere here, and I'll do my own research on gremlins outside of that too. I think some of the appeal comes from like how accurate I am. Am I completely off base when it releases, or did I actually predict like a few of the features, you know? Also, I'm gonna say the word like a lot because it's unscripted, so I'm so sorry. But yeah. What I like to do when I'm like making a homebrew is I just write down a list of awful disorganized thoughts and ideas. I'll kind of cut away, but I'm just gonna like write down a bunch of nonsense and see what sticks. I've written down some nonsense and I made the layout for adding the traits. But anyway, I'll show you where I'm at. So as you can see, wrote down some nonsense. I think I was starting with the zero cost trait, but I'm not quite sure what that would be. If I had control over it, I'd probably just give the halfling zero cost trait to gremlins, and then give the halfling something else, because I'm not a massive fan of halflings having that. But I don't want to do that because I don't think that's what DC20 would do. That's not what the coach would do. So I'm trying to think. I will say that I do want an ability called Prankster. I think this would be a cool ability name. Or at least like Prankster something. Coming up with names first is definitely a good way of getting in the mindset. So I might just come up with some cool trait names. Okay, I'm just here like pondering and writing down some nonsense. I think for now I'm gonna look at the other ancestries and see what traits I can take from different ones. Oh, also I want to say that like I know the ancestry system will be updated in the future, so I don't know, this might be outdated by the time Gremlins actually release. I don't know, but still fun. I am tempted to say that like gremlins share all the like beast related traits with halflings, but like humans don't share traits with orcs, so I feel like that shouldn't be the case. I don't know, one of the traits also, I'll put it on screen, like kind of synergizes with their flavor feature, their zero cost trait. So it'd be weird if like gremlins got that, but it was like worse because I couldn't get the halfling. I don't know. I was kind of struggling to decide that. I'll look at the Beastborn traits though. Actually, I should give them this, I think. Small sized makes too much sense. Actually, I guess short-legged too makes some sense. Okay, these are the ones which I think could be given to gremlins. I'm very hesitant with natural weapons because I don't like I just don't like them. I think they should be rebalanced a bit. Like, as they are right now, I don't like them. I feel like if I gave it to them, I would have to like copy and paste over so much from the Beastborn. Maybe I could come up with a few unique traits to like add on to their natural weapons, but I don't know. I feel like they probably will have natural weapons though, but I don't want to give it to them. I don't know. They don't necessarily have to. Like Dragonborn, they kind of feel like they'd have natural weapons to me, but they don't have them as an option. So maybe they won't. I don't know. This is a little tough. Probably not natural weapons, just because I'm a coward. I don't want to deal with that. Climb speed, maybe. Because I think the coach mentioned them maybe having climb speed before. Keen sense, I don't know. I just like keen sense. I feel like it could make sense. Teehee. But dark vision, I feel like is easy. Like maybe they might have that, but also in DC20, dark vision is supposed to be a little more exclusive, I guess. So I don't know if they will have it. But their eyes kind of look like they would have it. But that's kind of silly reasoning. But maybe, I don't know. Intimidating shout, perhaps. If I want to be lazy and say like this is how they like frighten people, I can just say like, oh yeah, intimidating shout. That's the trait for that. I might give it to them. I think I'll just kind of leave this here for now and not make decisions. I'm gonna cut away and we'll see what progress I make. Hey y'all, Matt here. And it's now the next day. I have a lot of updates. I'm just gonna go over my thought process on everything. So you can read this stuff if you want like random junk thoughts I had. So Vexing feints. The reason for this trait is just that I feel like doing feints is the closest you can get to like pranking in combat. When I was thinking of this idea, it made a lot of sense to me because it uses a trickery check. You're being tricky. like false movements. Hopefully you see the vision, because to me this makes perfect sense. And for Machine Gremlin, so this is just based on how gremlins are known for destroying airplanes, damaging aircrafts, damaging electronics. Like there's a gremlin in the computer or something, you know? I feel like this is probably a bit too specific of a feature to be realistically added. Like this is very campaign dependent, but I feel like I needed something like this just for the sake of gremlin lore, kinda. Real life gremlin lore. But in the case of DC20, if anything, this would probably be more of a goblin trait, because goblins are like corrupted gnomes, but also goblins like build stuff, so I don't know. But I don't know, I see the vision. I see my own vision with this. Oh, also, this is martial attacks, not melee martial attacks. So, even though I was like inspired by the barbarian flavor feature, this is a little different. Not in like a meaningful way though. But anyway, opportunistic. So this is supposed to parallel how halflings are elusive. They can avoid opportunity attacks, you know? Meanwhile, gremlins are the opposite. I did consider making it like more of a parallel, where there's something where if you take the full disengage action, like if the enemy does, then you can still attack them. But I feel like that was, like, I didn't think a rule exception for that was a good idea, because then like the GM just wouldn't do that, or be like weird metagaming. I don't know. I feel like this is simple, straightforward, and makes sense. Also, I honestly just took the wording from the monk wolf thing, because I realized, oh wait, this exists, but I just made it into a expanded trait. Hopefully everything I just said made sense. I'm gonna come up with more traits now, I guess. Okay, I'm back. It's later now. So I've been doing a lot of research on gremlins off camera. Not only were gremlins blamed for airplane issues in real life, mental issues with pilots were also blamed on gremlins. So I think something mental could be interesting. I don't know what that would be, but a mental problem feature might be interesting. My only concern is that, like, if I'm going heavily in on the fact that gremlins are like based on halflings, then that feels kind of weird, because if anything, that'd be more like of a subversion of like a gnome thing, because like gnomes have like mental clarity and that type of thing. So like gremlins causing mental issues of some sort would like kind of parallel that, if anything, and not really halflings. So I don't know, but I think it's interesting enough to experiment with, definitely. But anyway, fast food. But the reason for this is just because, well, doing research, I realized that gremlins in media eat a lot of food. Like, in Gremlins the movie, like, they were devouring food. In Hotel Transylvania, which I forgot about this, but there was like a Bart Simpson gremlin that eats food, apparently, or like eats objects. I don't know, but gremlins have an association with like eating a lot of food, and I was kind of struggling to think of how I would like adapt that, and I think this is the decent way of doing it, because my thought was like, okay, you can eat food quicker in combat, but it was like, okay, what does that mean? There's not really like healing food items, just potions. So I was like, okay, sure, free object action. But anyway, I felt like this was the best way of capturing that flavor, and I added like a little flavor feature on top of this, because it just being a potion related thing felt weird. Like, they're not like witches or anything like that. I added this just so it'd be clear, like, hey, you're just eating a lot of food. Also, I'm probably gonna decide on like what traits I actually want to use from this. Sunlight sensitivity, the more time that passes, the more I'm thinking that I kind of want to put on the gremlin. It definitely is appropriate for gremlins. I don't know, there's a mix I want to do, because I don't want to just base it off what we know from like how the coach is taking it. I also want to take inspiration from, you know, real life gremlins, real life lore, and also popular things involving gremlins, like the movies. So I don't know, it's a balance, I guess. But yeah, I will now cut away and do more work. I'm back, it's the next day. I'm kind of taking my time with this, but honestly, compared to other homebrew I did, like the kobold one, this is going way quicker. So, Gremlin Fear, new trait. It's super straightforward. I mean, I planned on doing something like this from the start. I don't know how to balance this type of thing, because there's currently no effects that inflict fear in the game currently that I can think of. Or at least for players. Also, maybe a magazine had something. I don't know. Oh, by the way, Vexing feints. I keep going back and forth on if this should be like any trickery check in combat, or if it should just be feints. I feel like it wouldn't break the game, but is that too risky? I don't know. That is kind of crazy. Like, trickery does do a lot. Deft footwork. Okay, this is a silly one. So I looked at the halfling deft footwork, and I was like, you know what? It'd be funny if I changed the E to an A. I'm a comedic genius. I was just trying to like have more halfling parallel traits, and I was thinking like it makes sense for a halfling to kind of be better at going through enemies and like sneaking past, but gremlins are kind of like tough, so they're like stopping you, you know? I felt like it was fitting enough. But yeah, This might be weak. I do like it though, honestly. Tough ears, I might get rid of this. I really don't know. Dwarf and Angelborn have something kind of similar, and I don't think this is like anything crazy. I don't think this is unbalanced. But the reason I came to this was because I wasn't sure if I wanted a prankster trait as the 0 cost. Because I feel like the 0 cost is going to be like the most common trait for gremlins to have. And I like most gremlins being pranksters. I think that's cool. But I felt like it should be more neutral. Like the Rogue and Commander flavor features, I complained about them before because they weren't really neutral. And I felt similarly with this sorta. Where like if I have it as a prank thing, then that's kind of like too specific and that limits what type of gremlin you can play kinda, unless you take it from your second ancestry, but I don't know, I ended up with this. I thought just, you know, gremlins have big ears, sure. Their hair and their ears makes it so they're more resistant to the deafen condition. Actually, to be fair, the loudness of an engine of an airplane, you know, being on the wing of an airplane, that would deafen most people. They do gotta have some tough ears if you think about it. I'm actually a genius for this trait. You know, super flavorful, definitely a great neutral thing. I don't know. I think I'll go with this though. Anyway, I'm gonna cut away and hopefully I cut back to perfection. It is the dawn of a new day again. I guess I'll just start with Vexing Act. I can't tell if this is overpowered or not. Out of combat, this has a decent amount of utility. Like you can use it to kind of make insight checks worse and stuff. But it is implied, since the Vexing Act, like this is flavored as a thing. You can't just say like, I'm always doing this out of combat. Like, well you can say that I suppose, but they'll know. So like if you're trying to pull a fast one over someone and they're like making an insight check, they'll be aware that you're kind of like distracting them in some way, you know? But that still has a lot of utility out of combat. And in combat, I don't know how crazy it is, but you could like run up to a spellcaster and spam this and like mess with their spell checks. Oh, and for my like design process, I was inspired by hearing that, well, first of all, I heard that like the origin of the word gremlin could be tied to like a word meaning to vex. So I was like, okay, obviously I have to use the word vex somewhere. And I like the idea of having some like kind of annoying feature. And I heard how gremlins kind of were blamed for like mental issues in pilots, or like they're getting confused and that sort of thing. Not just like plane issues, but pilot issues too. So I like the idea of gremlins having some mental related trait. So I think this is flavorful for like gremlins outside of DC20 and in DC20 because gremlins are like pranksters. The balancing though, I have no clue. I've gone back and forth. I think this might be in a good spot, but I don't know. Oh, by the way, prankster, I didn't talk about that. I know I wanted a prankster thing from the very beginning, but I didn't want it to just be the flavor feature. I didn't want it to just do nothing because like originally I was thinking that it'd be weird for the GM to ask for you to make a check when performing a prank. Because I feel like generally, if it's like a roleplay thing out of combat, they should just kind of let you do it if you have like infinite time to do it, you know? Like I'm placing a bucket of water above the door and someone's gonna get wet when they go through. Like, is the GM gonna say like, okay, make me a trickery check, and if you fail, you're gonna pour the water on yourself? Like, will they do that? I don't know. But I do feel like some pranks naturally will require a check. I don't want this to seem like GMs have to make it so you roll for roleplay stuff. But I think this makes sense as a little ribbon. But the actual meat of the feature, I guess, with the once per long rest, you can grant yourself advantage on trickery check. That. I think I thought of this idea kind of early on, where I was like, oh, it makes sense to just have a thing where you're better at trickery checks once per long rest. But I kind of forgot about that because I like made Vexing feints, and I was like, okay, that's the trickery check one. But then while laying in bed, I was struck with inspiration, and I was just like, oh yeah, once per long rest, trickery check advantage. That makes sense. I guess it's kind of like that one Angelborn and that one Fiendborn trait. It's pretty much the same thing. Similar ballpark, you know. But yeah, those are the updates. I probably updated something else that I forgot to mention, but you can see the screen. And now next day probably, unless I like cut back and I actually made a ton of progress, more progress today. I don't know. Hopefully I finish it tomorrow actually, or the day after that maybe. Hello, it's the next day again. I might be done now, so I changed the 0 cost trait to be selective hearing. I changed it just because I don't love the fact that I used the word tough, because tough is already used for an ancestry trait, so if you see it on another ancestry trait, you'd think it has like some sort of connection to health or something like that. So I knew I wanted something different for that. So I started looking up like synonyms for the word tough, but I just didn't like anything I was able to come up with. So I did end up asking a friend for feedback on names, and he said that this would be funny. At first I was a little hesitant, but I think this is in the Gremlin spirit. Like, this feels like a Gremlin trait. Also, this is called Trickster now, and I like the name. My only concern with it is that it does sound kind of similar to Prankster, but I couldn't think of anything better than Trickster. Oh, by the way, I should mention that if you want this for anything, like, you want to use this in your home game for some reason, or you want to, I don't know, whatever. I'm gonna copy and paste this into the description of the video, so do literally whatever you want with it. I don't care. I guess if it's cool enough, then comment and tell me what you did with it. And give me credit if you feel like it. I'd prefer if you did, but actually I will say, if it's in your home game, you can take credit for this. That'd be funny. You can lie and say that you made this. Right, Beast Behaviorist. So I don't love the name. I don't think it's a bad name. I just couldn't think of anything better than it. So I knew I wanted something beast related because halflings can talk to animals and they have that connection. And initially I was thinking like, okay, they can talk to animals like halflings. And I just expand on that a bit. But the issue was that halflings have their zero cost trait as like partial animal speaking. And then you take the 1 cost trait to get full animal speaking essentially. And I was struggling because, like, I couldn't have a 1 cost trait that just says you can speak to animals. Because that would power creep the halfling. So it had to be like a 2 cost trait, druid flavor feature essentially. And none of it felt super good to me. So I was thinking like, okay, halflings speak to animals, but maybe for gremlins it's more like intuitive. More of an intuition thing. And I thought just being able to predict the behavior of a beast felt appropriate. So I ended up with this, and I think it's good. I like it. Oh, by the way, last minute balance change, 5. I just feel like it was kind of needlessly restrictive. This might be a super strong feature, but I can't imagine that changing it from 2 to 5 spaces ends up being the reason that's game breaking. And Vexing Mischief, before it was Vexing Act, but I changed it to Vexing Mischief because I just liked it more. You're like causing mischief to distract. But anyway, this I don't know. Like, my gut tells me that I can increase it to 5 spaces because it's 3 points. I feel like I might be overhyping this trait a lot, but I'm scared of it. Oh, by the way, fast food is 2 points now. Forgot to mention that too. I might make some last second balance changes, we'll see. But now that I'm done, I'll actually talk about my design process because I kind of skipped over it, honestly. Like, here's what my design process is. You type down nonsense. Like, if you're trying to think of homebrew, like, your mind might work differently than mine, but let's say that you think fauns are cool or satyrs are cool, like you just watched Narnia. Let's say you thought that Mr. Tumnus was cool, and you're like, I wanna have a homebrew ancestry for DC20 based on him. What I would start with is write down a bunch of nonsense. See, I wrote down some nonsense. Like, I spent about a minute just typing random thoughts. Like, I feel like just throughout your day, you're gonna get a lot of bad ideas. And while researching, you're gonna, like, see something that kind of sticks with you, too. Like, for example, you might read a wiki page and see, like, satyrs are connected to music, and then you'll think, maybe there's like a bard-like feature that I can give to them. Or maybe think like, oh, so they're like kind of like inspiring. Oh, maybe something to do with using grit point. I don't know. Your thoughts kind of build out on each other. And you're gonna have a lot of garbage, but then you can sift through it and make something cool. And when you actually want to start writing, you can start with some cool sounding names or something. You might think like, oh, I need a trait for Faun called Musical Muse, and you're like, okay, I know I want that. Okay, so you're like kind of inspiring for people, or maybe you can mark someone as your muse and then you have benefits. I don't know, I feel like I'm all over the place here, but hopefully you understand what I'm getting at. And that's it. I don't know if I explained my thoughts well at all. I might have just done an awful job rambling, and I might have cut half of what I said because it was just nonsense. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, and I can say like why I made a certain choice. And hopefully this is balanced, and hopefully it's fun, and hopefully I don't expect it to be like super close to what DC20 ends up actually doing with gremlins. But I hope I get like 2 or 3 traits close enough. I think that definitely will be part of the fun for me, seeing how close I was. But tell me if you want me to do this again in the future with a different ancestry or something. I could definitely do more, I guess, more casual homebrew stuff where I don't overthink it too much and just kind of make it. But anyway, that's it. I don't know if this was the worst video known to man or if this was good. I have like over an hour of me just rambling to myself, and I'm sure I cut out like 99% of it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the comments and support and everything. I'm gonna go drink some water. See ya.